3 years minimum in the military, you will get 100% GI Bill, and it'll cover like all tuition and fees.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should have started with that. Like, joining 4 clubs must be hectic.
Yes, I would say during the first semester, very hectic.
At
I would
Tepper.
say definitely the consulting club and business and technology. Those two clubs are like huge. But I've heard some things through like some of the rumor mills that like maybe like Tepper students are a little bit more like robotic than other students.
Yeah, if this rumor was started from other students of other universities, maybe they're jealous.
I knew that. Yeah.
Alrighty. Hi, guys. Welcome to another session of, I guess this is MBA Talks, where we talk with students who are currently doing their MBA program. And today we've got Buhm from CMU Tepper. Hi. Thank you so much for joining. But anyways, Buhm, thank you so much for doing this. Before we begin, let's do a quick intro. Tell me about yourself, and why CMU? That's, I think, my bigger question.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little background to myself. My name is Buhm. I'm originally from Colorado Springs, Colorado, and my pre-MBA background primarily was in the defense industry. I was in the military for 8 years prior to Tepper. Spent the first 5 years in the Army Reserves while I was doing my undergrad. And then after graduation, I spent the last 3 years up in Washington State, active duty as an air and missile defense officer. In that role, yeah, it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed my time in the Army. I got to lead some strategy and operations for within like my most recent role, which is very cool. Got to learn a lot about like some of the new technologies that like we're trying to implement into some of the existing like defense systems that we have within like our organization. So it was really cool. Yeah, that's kind of like where like the professional side of my background comes in from. And yeah, just a little bit about myself.
Awesome. Oh my God. So, okay, you've been in the Army. I really want to know why MBA. Like, that's crazy. And you also, I heard you're a family person, right? You do have your own family as well.
I do, yeah. So I'm married. My wife and I here in Pittsburgh, and then we have our 2 dogs with us. I guess they're also a huge part of our family.
Crazy.
So yeah. Um,
How cute.
yeah, but yeah. So why MBA? When I was kind of transitioning, like out of the military, I kind of knew that I was interested in like business. I was very interested in like how things worked as far as like how do businesses actually operate, how do they make money. It was something that really like piqued my interest and was something that I wanted to get into. I also knew that like during my time in the Army, like my favorite part about the job was like collaborating with others and like working within a team setting. And I knew like going into whatever sector of like the business industry, like that was going to be huge. So that was what drew me into business school and why I wanted to go get my MBA. Specifically Tepper, like I came to CMU because Tepper was the most quant heavy school that was out there. And that was really interesting to me. Like when I was doing my undergrad degree was in international affairs. So it wasn't like quantitative heavy at all, but it was something that I wanted to really challenge myself and expose myself to. And Carnegie Mellon, obviously being such a renowned school for computer science, mathematics, like nowadays, like AI, I knew it was going to be like the perfect place for me to learn new things, put myself in a position where I can learn new things by failing and by having conversations with people that are much smarter than me. I knew that this was going to be the place where I can set myself for success at the end of the day.
That's awesome. And you said that you stayed at Colorado. So I'm not too sure about the US geography, just saying. But how far is Colorado from Pittsburgh?
It's not close. I think I was just looking at flights the other day, actually. I think it's about a 3.5-hour flight from Pittsburgh. And then driving, I don't know how long driving would be. Driving would take forever. But yeah, it's 2 time zones away. So
Crazy.
yeah, it's not close, which is kind of a bummer because like I'm away from family and stuff like that. But I've also Pittsburgh being like closer to like New York and Boston, like on the East Coast. Like my wife and I, we've never experienced like this side of the country before, so that was also something that we kind of just wanted to check out, see if we kind of like the region, like the geography, which we do so far. Like Pittsburgh is awesome. Pittsburgh's a beautiful place. So I think we made
Really? But
yeah.
was it a big change, or is it something that you're able to adjust to?
It was a big change, like growing up in Colorado and then like living in Washington for the last 3 years, like the scenery was obviously great and the weather was very mild and like we kind of knew what to expect. But Pittsburgh, it seems like weather-wise, it's a little bit more of a roller coaster. It's starting to get a little colder now that it's November. But it's also a positive thing is that we've really noticed that the people here in Pittsburgh are like very, very nice. They're very friendly. Like I love all of
Mm,
our neighbors in our neighborhood. So that's been a nice change.
that's awesome. And especially for like a family, since you have your family with you, like how is the place, for your family? Because it's different for bachelors and single people, but for family, you have to think of a lot of things. I have a kid of my own,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there are a lot of there are a lot of check marks that you have to, look into.
yeah.
So,
Honestly, I think it's great. Like for us, like the biggest thing having dogs, since we don't have any kids, we wanted to make sure there was a backyard, for the dogs to run around. I am like we live close enough to school that I can either walk or bike to school. My wife works fully remote from home, so we wanted to make sure that this was a place where she felt comfortable being at her desk, at home 8, 9 hours a day. And we live very close to like a major street, a lot of food places, a lot of places to go for like coffee and drinks and stuff like that. So that's been really interesting. That's been awesome. And yeah, and like overall, it's been like really great. Like yesterday was Halloween, so we saw costumes, just kind of like trick or treating. So yeah, very family friendly, very dog friendly for us, and yeah, it's been good.
how I just realized that so you don't have kids.
No kids, yeah.
Okay, I was under the impression that you do, but your doggos are your kids.
Yeah, there are a lot of kids in the neighborhood though that we interact with a lot.
Of course, awesome. And I also heard that, I mean, you did get into other schools,
Mhm.
than other than CMU Tepper. So, which were they, and why again CMU Tepper compared to
Yeah,
those?
yeah. So when I applied, so I got into Tepper, I got into UW Foster, Georgetown McDonough, and Berkeley Haas.
Oh
And
wow.
it was a very hard decision. Like the last two schools that we came down to were UW. I knew that I wanted to go into like tech and specifically product
Mm-hmm.
management, which Foster is great for. But I also knew that in case that plan A didn't work out, I wanted to have a solid plan B, which is consulting. And consulting
Mm,
was better within the employment aspect as far as like where grads end up at Tepper. But Tepper also had great numbers as far as like product management placement in the tech industry. So I knew that at Tepper I could do a little bit of both and kind of try out both industries and see which one that I liked the most. So that was priority number one. And two was, we lived in Washington for the last 3 years, and we would love to get back at some point, but we wanted to try out something new since my wife and I, we're still fairly young. We knew that this was kind of like the right time in our lives just to try something new, without having any risks of like we don't have kids, so like we don't have to worry about like their schools and stuff like
mm,
that. So it was just kind of like right time in our lives, and then kind of going back to like that quantitative heavy focus curriculum at Carnegie Mellon. That was like a huge emphasis for me because I just wanted to learn something new and I wanted to challenge myself, like I said. So that was kind of like the third factor that came into it.
nice. I actually did want to touch upon the fact that, like, so being an army person, or how do you say it? Being an army guy, uh, what were the challenges, or what do you think are the challenges that people from the army background
Mm.
face when they want to shift to this business school venture?
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a few. I think the biggest thing that I like struggled with probably personally was like comparing my experiences to my classmates. A lot of my classmates come from previous consulting backgrounds or tech backgrounds
Mm,
or whatever it may be. And I think I really sold myself short when I was comparing my experiences to my classmates, which one I probably shouldn't have been doing. Like comparing experiences, I think is is probably not the best thing to do because like obviously we were admitted to business school for a specific reason. We all have like the potential to go and pivot to the industry that
Mm,
we're looking for. But like I think initially starting off when we're meeting each other and like starting to do like case competitions for the first time, like a lot of my classmates brought like really really good insights into like the business aspect of it, which I had no background. And so I felt like I was playing a little bit more catch up than some of my other classmates that didn't come from that industry. But also, there's a lot of strengths that I was able to leverage as well. You know, like I was very, I worked in a very team heavy aspect of an organization when I was in the army. So that was a strength that I could leverage within like getting the classmates together and like hearing everyone's opinions and like just kind of like organizing thoughts in that aspect.
mhm,
So that was one challenge. And then maybe the second, but I think this might depend on the person. Like I said, like I didn't come from an undergrad business or like computer science or like math, like STEM background. So I think specifically at CMU, kind of like picking that up as far as like the curriculum, like we took like probability and statistics and like accounting, finance classes like that our first semester. Classes I had never like taken before. Like I took stats maybe like sophomore year of high school like years ago, but like picking that up seemed a little bit more challenging for myself, where some of my classmates might have come from previous business school undergrad experience where they had taken those classes before. Maybe this was more of a refresher for them. But you know,
mhm,
like at the end of the day, like everyone here is just so helpful and like it's easy to seek help and get someone to kind of like mentor or like help you out in any aspect that you're lagging in. So I feel like, you know, transitioning from the army, there were some challenges, but like the environment that I'm in now, like really helped me kind of like get over that hump a little bit.
mm. And it's been what, like 2.5 months, right?
Yeah,
Since you
yeah.
started.
Yep.
Yeah. So are these the only challenges that you think you're going to be facing, or there would be more in the upcoming
Oh,
semesters?
there will definitely be more, I'm sure. I can't exactly pinpoint what challenges they may be, but you know, I'm sure it's going to be related to time management. You know, that's huge. Being a first year in a business school, you know,
Mhm,
a little bit of time management combined with probably the increase in difficulty with some of the other electives or like the curriculum coming up. But you know,
mm.
like I said, like I know that I'm gonna have like my classmates and you know like the professors here are great too. Like if you ask for help, like they're gonna help you. So I know there are resources for me to go to if I run into those challenges.
Makes sense. Okay, let's just talk a little bit about how it was when you first joined CMU Tepper. What was your first impression like?
My first impression was just how friendly everybody was. So early, I want to say first full week of August, we did this thing called base camp for about 3 weeks. It's essentially an orientation program that Carnegie Mellon and Tepper throws before like the
Mhm.
actual academic year starts. And it was great just being able to meet everyone. You know, we have a class of about, I want to say somewhere around 162, something like that. So meeting almost everybody within our class and also the second years, like my first thought was just how friendly and like open people were, which was great. You know, like there was a lot of diverse backgrounds, people from India, people from London, people from all around like the
Oh,
state.
nice.
It was great just being able to like hear their stories, like why they came to Tepper and like how everyone was adjusting to Pittsburgh. And you know, like
Mhm.
our first week, like every week at Carnegie Mellon or at Tepper, I should say, we do what's called bar night on Thursdays. And our first bar night that we went to, you know, there's a very popular bar here within like the college students. We go there Thursday night, you know, everyone's having a few drinks, just kind of like interacting with each other, like outside of like the business school setting and just like, you know, just talking, just getting to know each other better, just building upon that friendship. And, you know, it was just like an awesome experience. So that was like my first introduction and like my first I guess like thought of like how people are around here. And yeah, it was just very welcoming, very friendly, especially with all the second years that were in our shoes last year, and also obviously with like some of the staff at the school as well. That's like setting these events up, so it was great.
Oh, wow. And you said there were how many? 162?
Yeah, I want to say it's somewhere around 162. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head.
Quite tight knit,
Yes, yes,
right?
absolutely. Yeah,
And this is just first year students,
yeah,
or
yeah. And I think I
or
can't remember exactly like how many second years we have, but it's pretty similar to that.
how long did it take for you to like, I mean, introduce yourself to everyone?
We probably Probably about a month. Like, I think even when we went through the entirety of base camp, it was,
Mhm.
a lot of new faces and a lot of new names to memorize. And
Of
I think we
course.
all went through those challenges. Luckily we had a little name tag that we wore almost every day during base camp. Yeah, it took quite a bit, but definitely caught up in that aspect now.
Oh, awesome. And are you currently like, I mean, your accommodation is in the campus itself, or you
No,
managed to find it outside?
it's a little I'm, like, just a little north of campus. Takes me about 10 minutes to bike to campus, though, so, yeah,
Mm.
very close by, and I think a lot
Oh,
of my other classmates are, like, within maybe, like, 2 or 3 neighborhoods, just, like, all surrounding CMU.
oh, okay. So there are not many that stay within campus.
No, I don't think I'm trying to think, but I don't think there's anybody actually that stays, like, on campus.
Hmm. I don't know. I have no idea about the accommodation. So I'm just asking.
Yeah, absolutely.
How is it like, I mean, in terms of living, of course, you said the community is great. But in terms of like someone who, other than tuition costs, like living expenses, how is that like in Pittsburgh? Is
It's
it
not
manageable?
So since we came to Pittsburgh from Washington State, it was an improvement for us. Like if we're talking about like cost of living, like like rent was much cheaper here for us. Gas is cheaper, food, so like the cost of living for our family at least was improved, which was
Could you give us like rough estimate, like
so let's see. Rent I pay 1850 a month. I think gas now, I think we filled up like I don't know, maybe a week and a half ago was about 320, 330-ish, something
hmm
like low threes. And like grocery shopping, like we usually go to like Trader Joe's every 2 weeks to kind of like stock up on stuff. I think the last time
hmm
we spent about 120, something like that. Which I think in Washington we probably would have spent a little bit more. It probably it depends on like what store we go to, but yeah, I think
hmm
Pittsburgh, it's definitely less cost of living from Washington State at least. It's going to depend on where people are coming from. But like when it comes to like I guess like some of the fun stuff, like when we're going out, like getting coffee and drinks and stuff, I've noticed that those are also a little cheaper as well. Maybe a cocktail or a beer in like Washington would have costed maybe $10, something like that, at like a bar.
hmm
But here is probably like 7 or 8. So just a little bit cheaper is what we've noticed. Luckily for myself and like some of the other veterans, like within our cohort as well, like most of us have like the GI Bill. So luckily, like tuition is covered for us. They
Wow,
also
how nice.
cover, yeah. So that part's huge. Yeah, they also cover, like housing for us. We get a book stipend every semester or every year. It's something along the lines of that. So very fortunate to have that. Have definitely helped out like in an incredible way for
These are perks of being like in the army in general, or it's just because just in CMU?
just like it's a military program. So as long as you do 3 years minimum in the military, you will get 100% GI Bill, and it'll cover like all tuition and fees for like
Nice.
in-state schools. But Carnegie Mellon being a private university, it covers like a portion of it. But CMU
Mhm.
also actually matches that. So whatever gap that I have, like between like the GI Bill payment and like the tuition due, let's say it's like 30 grand or something, CMU will match that and they'll just cover that. So no out of pocket costs for attending school for me.
Oh, how crazy. And
That's
uh,
huge perk. Like,
huge.
yeah,
Yeah. We should have started with
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Crazy. And I mean, you said because it's a private university, of course, not like this, like full amount, but I mean, if you must have done your research. Are other private universities similar in this
Yeah,
aspect? Or?
as far as I know, they are. I think it depends. Like I think I was looking at USC Marshall before like applying, and I noticed that like for that school at least there was a little bit of out of pocket cost that I would have had to cover myself. They're a private
Mm.
university. I'm not exactly sure like how the other schools are. I think Georgetown also being a private university was 100% covered. So it depends on the university, but I want to say the majority of them do cover 100% of it.
Crazy. But what are your cores? Do you have to select your electives now or later? Just tell me a bit about it.
Yeah, so Carnegie Mellon and Tepper, it's a little unique in my opinion in the way that like our semesters are broken down into two separate minis. So each mini is 8 weeks long, and they're both so like I'm in mini two right now, but still in the first semester. So our first mini, my curriculum, it was probability and statistics, accounting, finance, managing people and teams, and management presentation. So it was 5 classes that I was taking mini one. And then now mini two is a little bit lighter load. I'm taking accounting two, corporate strategy, marketing management, and operations management. So I guess 9 classes total for this semester. And these are all core classes. That's kind of how it's set up is we knock out all of our core classes first before we're able to select our electives. And then we're actually here in the next week or two, we are going to be creating our schedule for the next semester, which we can select more electives. So I think if I remember correctly, we have some of the core classes that we have left are optimization is one. There's managing networks and people. And I think there's 2 more, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But you know, very excited to be able to like pick my electives here soon. Hoping to take classes like more aligned to like the tech and like PM industry, like technology strategy. We have a great new course here, like kind of integrating AI. It's called Product Management for Product Managers, where we get different product managers from companies like Google, Yelp, some of the other like tech industry giants that are like Tepper alums. They come back and they teach a class, I think a week at a time. That's been one of like the more popular ones. Really excited to take that course. Hopefully next year as a second year. But yeah, that's kind of how like the curriculum is set up. And as far as like, day-to-day goes, you know, like I think last mini I had started off with an 8 a.m. in the morning was probability and statistics. So I get to school, you know, I take my bike, about 10-minute commute over there, get to class. Classes are about an hour and 45 minutes long with a 10 or 15-minute break in the middle. I would knock out class. And then I had like a pretty large gap in the between my classes. For Tepper, we have no classes. Nobody has classes from 12 to 2. It's kind of a set time for lunch, which is a great opportunity for like club activities, corporate presentations, you know, group homework assignments. So I'm kind of taking advantage of that as far as like reaching out to alumni for like coffee chats or doing group accounting work, kind of things along the lines of that. And then I'll go back into class from 2 to 3:45, and then last minute I also had a class from 4 to 5:45. So during the day, you know, like very class heavy, very like group work focused within like kind of like what we can knock out at the time, like with like people's priorities with like interview prep and kind of things along the lines of that. And then yeah, like it kind of depends. If it's like a Thursday, like I said, you know, like after class, most people will go home, you know, grab a quick dinner, and then we'll all head out to bar night just to kind of like interact more with our cohort and like some of the second years, just having a really great time with like the fun aspect of like an MBA. And then every Friday we don't have class, so our courses are just from Monday and Thursday. But every Friday we do things. We do this thing called beers, where a different club within like the Tepper community will host an event, basically just like a friendship and like bonding event where like this or I want to say it was either this week or next week, like the South Asian Business Association is throwing like the Diwali like beers.
Nice.
Yeah, so you know it's going to be like kind of aligned like culturally with like some of the drinks and like the food they have, which is awesome. Like it's really cool being able to like get immersed into like other classmates like backgrounds and like cultures and like in that fun aspect and just like learning more about like what their culture was like. So super fun time, like beers and like bar nights. Like it's like a great event.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's typically like the day in a life, I suppose.
And are there any like clubs that you've joined as of now, or you're planning to join?
Right now, I'm a part of, let's see, I want to say 4 clubs, maybe 5 clubs. So I'm a part of the Consulting Club, the Business and Technology Club, the Veterans Association, the Golf Club, And then it's called STARS. The acronym is Students at Tepper for Astronautics, Rockets, and Space. So
Wow.
yeah, that club is more tailored towards the companies like Boeing, Blue Origin, some of the more like aerospace and like defense focused industries. Yeah,
Mhm.
super cool clubs. Like I love being a part of all of them. Yeah, very interesting as far as like some like the learning and like the education opportunities that we get with alumni reaching back out to these clubs. Yeah, it's been a great time.
Oh, I'm surprised you play golf. Yeah. I mean, how much time do you even have to take out to like be able to participate well enough in all of these clubs? Like how does it work? Like joining four clubs must be hectic, no?
Yes, I would say during the first semester, very hectic. Luckily, like the clubs, they'll organize their events around like our lunch breaks, like I was saying.
Um,
Or like I'll use like the consulting club as an example. Like during our first semester, when we were doing like case prep and stuff like that, every Monday, I think at 7 p.m., we would do like a case drill. And then, so, like everyone's done with classes and everyone knows that like it's every Monday at 7 p.m. We can kind of like block that off in our calendars. And then every Thursday around lunchtime, we'll have dedicated time slots to go in person and actually practice these drills with second years instead of just sitting in a Zoom and like kind of taking notes. We'll actually get an opportunity to like practice.
mm,
So that's kind of an example how like clubs use like the specific blocks and um, like a rhythm, I suppose, within everyone's calendar so that we know like when to block things off. When it comes to like other events, like the golf clubs, for example, we're doing like an intro to golf first event for our club here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. It was just booked, like early in advance so that people know to either RSVP and like kind of like block that time off in their calendar to attend. Or if that's something that if that's like a conflict for somebody, like they know early on that that's not an event that they can make it to. Really just goes back to like the time management aspect of it. But yeah,
mm.
it's structured pretty healthy to where most people can participate as long as they don't have like a conflicting event around the same time.
Is there any particular club like that's the most popular at
I would
Tepper?
say definitely the consulting club and business and technology. Those two clubs are like huge.
Mm,
Consulting club, obviously, because if you're doing consulting recruiting, like the case prep portion of it, along with like being able to like meet different firms with coffee chats and like visiting other firms like offices. Great opportunity that the consulting club does a great job with. Business and technology club as well. Like we recently just had a session with some Amazon alumni. They were going through like the different aspects of like the Amazon interview because we have that coming up here in a little bit. Yeah, those two are definitely the most popular, but there's a lot of other great clubs as well. Like there's like the marketing club. There's like for the finance people that we have like the Alpha Club and like something things along the lines of that. I want to say we're upwards of like 30 plus clubs, I think 30, 35, something like that, just within like the Tepper like graduate like business association. But I would probably say those consulting and BNT are probably the two most popular.
makes sense. Okay, I think something that I would love to know is are there any crazy stuff about Tepper or maybe any misconceptions about the students there that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, yeah. So I think there's a common misconception around Tepper and maybe like Carnegie Mellon as a whole. But I've heard some things through like some of the rumor mills that like maybe like Tepper students are a little bit more like robotic than other students. Maybe what they mean by that is like maybe we just come off as like reading off of scripts. Like when it comes to like coffee chats or like interviews, stuff like that. I would say that's like a huge misconception. I think I think it really depends on the person and like the personality type of that person. But I think Tepper students overall, just like from what I've observed, like very outgoing, very like friendly and just like easy to like converse with. I don't think anybody comes off as like too robotic or like too well rehearsed, or maybe that's a good thing. But yeah, that's kind of like some of the most common like misconceptions that we might hear from like other schools is that maybe just because of like I would say because Carnegie Mellon and Tepper probably has a little bit harder of a curriculum than like other programs might have. So maybe
Mm.
knowing that aspect of it, there's an assumption that like we come off as like maybe super nerdy, or that robotic aspect of it. But I would just like to just kind of like put that rumor to rest, I suppose. And everyone that I've talked to, like even alumni wise, like I've never thought anyone came off as like robotic. And, it just seemed like we were having a conversation one on one, like you and I are having right now. It's just very easygoing, very very willing to offer advice or tips, or for whatever conversation we're having. So that's probably the most common one that I hear.
Yeah, if this rumor was started from other students of other universities, maybe they're jealous.
Maybe they does exactly.
Crazy. And like, are there? And I mean, of course, it's just been what 2.5 months. But were there any like cool events that happen? Or anything juicy that happened actually in those events that you might want to share? I mean, of course, you're married. I
Yeah,
feel like married people, like it's done.
to ourselves.
Yeah, like like I understand. I'm married as well. But maybe you have like friends who are single who have shared stories with you that you might want to share here. Be my guest.
Yeah, I want to know. I want maybe not like drama, but like like some of the events, like last night, like with it being Halloween, like our graduate business association threw a Halloween party in like nearby campus, and like that was like a really cool event. Like single or married, like like most everyone was there. Great event. Just like having a few drinks and like partying with like the classmates. Was a great time. So there's definitely like fun activities going on. I think on Sunday we're having like a giant school-wide bonfire at a nearby like Boy Scout camp, and there's a
Nice.
new initiative that like the student body like kind of rolled out, like kind of like Harry Potter, like the different houses. We're trying a thing where I guess we're like placing people in different houses for like career mentorship, a little bit of a tighter bond, like friendship kind of building aspect of it. So that's happening on Sunday, where we're just going to be able to like enjoy the fall weather with our classmates, drink some hot chocolate,
Nice.
get some s'mores going. So there's events like that. But yeah, like I would say like whether you're single or married, like it depends on whether maybe you're an introvert or maybe you're an extrovert. Like there's always something for you to do, whether in a large entire class setting or like in a smaller, more niche, like friendship, small group kind of setting. So yeah, I would
Mm.
say there's opportunities for any type of personality here at Tepper.
No, of course. I mean, I think we've covered most of everything. I mean, I feel like we might do another video when you're in your second year and
Yeah,
you have like more like gossip to share
yeah,
with us. Like, oh my God, there was this one class I hated and I'd like would love to share with the audience at gmatclub. Like, we will reach out to you then for
yeah.
sure.
I'll ask some of my other classmates too if they have any input on that topic. But maybe I need to dig around a little bit more. But
Exactly. But in general, like, how long did your whole MBA application process take you?
it took me this. I might be an anomaly, but I want to say it took me around 6 months. And the reason why I say that is because I was working on the industry that I wanted to get into post MBA. I was also utilizing essay examples from the year prior before the application even opened up and getting like drafts out before it was even time to look at what the topic of this year was going to be. And then after that application would open, I'm reaching out to the current students at either Tepper or Foster, whatever school I was applying to, getting some feedback, and kind of changing up the essays or my test taking strategy and changing things around. I probably started that around June or May, yeah, May or June of the year prior before I was applying. And then
Mhm.
applications I think typically open in October, and I got decisions in December, January timeframe. So probably about 6 months. And I would say writing the essays and taking either the GRE or the GMAT, because I took both, were
Wow.
probably the most time consuming aspect of it.
Was there anything else that helped you with your application process that you might
Yeah.
want to share?
Well, so I was very focused on like attending a lot of events, whether that would be like school specific events or even like like the MBA spotlight events, because I knew
Explain.
that yeah, because well, so I knew by attending these events, I could want first have direct interaction with like the actual admissions directors at these schools, which was great for getting like actual insight as far as like what that process was like, but also learning more
Mhm.
about the school. I could do a lot of research on the school's website and like figure out like their post graduation placement numbers and the curriculum that I would have to take and like what that process was like. But having actual like conversations through like breakout rooms or like small settings with the directors, and
Sure.
most of the times they had either like a second year or like a staff member on that admissions team like offering advice to us as like potential applicants of like like on your essays, like if the topic is asking about subject A, like really focus in on like this aspect of your experience, and like that's what we want to see. So hearing about stuff like that was a huge and like critical component of my like application process, I would say.
And yeah, I think that's majorly it. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our YouTube audience today?
Yeah, I guess so. Like for like that NBA spotlight, I'm gonna be a volunteer host for it. So hopefully, some of the viewers out there, if you guys have any questions, and I happen to be like your host, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to answer some questions. And second, like, let's see, it's November right now, so like maybe like round two deadlines are coming up. So if you guys are looking at potential schools, I would highly, highly, highly suggest you guys look into Tepper. It's a great community that we have over here. Especially, if there's any veterans out there, please reach out to me if you guys have any questions about that. I would really love to have you guys here at Carnegie Mellon. It's a great place. I'd highly recommend it to anyone from like any background looking to pivot into whatever industry. So
Yeah. And if you have any more questions, just guys, feel free to comment it down below. We will do our best to answer them. But thanks once again, Mom. This was really interesting. And I'm hoping that there's a part two
yeah,
for this
absolutely.
video next year. Awesome. Take care and have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Bye. Know about like your day-to-day life at Tepper, and like what are your core subjects? I don't know exactly how the syllabus is like what all you have to select. And okay, maybe I should like remove this from the from the recording. Otherwise I'll sound stupid. So you don't have kids?
No kids, yeah.
Okay. I was under the impression that you do, but your doggos are your kids.
Yeah, there are a lot of kids in the neighborhood though that we interact